If you know that you are seriously ready to level up in 2021, if you're craving connection with other people who also think big and who will inspire you to think big, then you may want to think about joining a mastermind. Now, I'm a huge believer in masterminds. They have literally helped to exponentially grow my business and myself, but it was just a few short years ago that this concept was actually completely foreign to me. I had never heard of a mastermind, never knew anyone who was part of one. And so today I thought I would break down my experience over the last couple of years with masterminds, including a couple of huge mistakes I made with the first one that I joined. And I'm also going to share with you some things to consider to help you decide if you are ready for something like a mastermind this year. Welcome back to the podcast. I cannot believe, I feel like I was saying to someone the other day that 2021 is already coming in hot. It's already been a super exciting, productive start to the new year. And I firmly believe that this is going to be a year of huge growth for a lot of you. And I can remember distinctly being at that point in my own business journey where I had this feeling that number one, this vision of what people see now as Powerhouse women was meant to be something really, really big. And I also had this sense that I was probably going to be the only thing that got in the way of this business, this vision becoming what it was truly meant to be. So if you are feeling that same way, feeling equally like the big idea on your heart is meant to be something really big, bigger than you can even imagine. And if you also feel like, man, there's just kind of some things in my way, or I don't quite have the support system around me to know how to make that happen, then this episode really is for you. And if you've listened to the podcast before, this isn't a totally new topic. I've talked about masterminds before. I've talked about my experience with them, how big of an impact they've made in my business and my own personal growth. But I've never just done an episode on like, well, hold on, if I'm just joining this conversation, if I'm new to the party, what is a mastermind? Like, could you just break that down? And how do I know if my business or if I'm at the point where it would be a good investment for me? Because most masterminds are an investment. I had done an episode, I think at some point last year, talking about the difference between informal masterminds, which is where you just get together with a group of your peers and you mastermind about each other's businesses, where you'd share ideas and things like that. But today we're going to talk about like formal masterminds. So something that you would invest in and something that you're intentionally going into with the growth of yourself and your business in mind. So how do you actually know if you're at the point that you're ready to invest, and how do you make the decision about what's right for you? So I'm going to break down all of that for you. And I want to take this back to when I was at that point. I want to say it was 3.5 years ago, almost 4, where I was in this stage of knowing and seeing that Powerhouse Women was really meant to become something big. We had, if I'm remembering correctly, we had our 2nd annual event. And it was really at that point, I don't even think I had registered the business as an LLC until after that point, where I kind of sat back and I was like, oh, I think this is a thing. And, for those of you that weren't around at the early stages of Powerhouse Women, this was never something that I went into intending to start a business. But as the community came together and as women started to ask for what they were looking for, it was really clear that we had the potential to make a bigger impact than I was even thinking. And so we made things official. We, filed our LLC. We started offering programs and different, just really listening to the community and what they wanted. So the business itself was starting to monetize. And it was at that point that I knew, I just couldn't shake this feeling that it was really meant to be something even bigger. And that I was probably the only thing limiting the impact that this community and this business could make. So it was around that time that I started to pay attention. And I do think there's something to be said about what's that? It's this quote that's like, when the student is ready, the teacher appears, right? So when you're in this phase of knowing that you're ready to step into your next level of growth, I do think all of a sudden you'll start to hear different conversations. You'll start to notice different things that you wouldn't have maybe picked up on otherwise. So maybe that's even why you tuned into this podcast today. Maybe you tuned into this conversation because you're starting to really lean into your own growth and wondering what the next best step is for you. So I was at that point, and it didn't really take long before a conversation opened up and a friend of mine said, "Hey, I think I'm going to join this mastermind. You should do it with me." And there was literally just something within me that was like, you keep asking for what the next stage in your own growth is. I think it just felt like a yes, right? So I knew very little about the group or the person leading it, but I knew that I was really ready to invest in myself at a higher level. I was really ready to take this seriously and see what I could do, see what impact we could make. So it was that was my very, very first investment. I've talked about it before. It was like the most I'd ever invested in myself or my business. I think it was even more than my car at the time, which it wasn't a very nice car, but it was like the most I'd ever invested, which that alone changed something in me. It really flipped this switch and had me show up for my business in a whole new way. Yes, we were making money. We were already, monetizing and making a pretty decent income with the business, but all of a sudden now I was investing in my business. I was investing in myself. And I think that alone was one of the biggest things I got from the experience. But it was really through that experience that I learned what a mastermind is, how they differ, and just even how to gauge what to expect from an investment like that. So I want to break down for you, and this is just in my experience, what I've learned. So I was part of that mastermind, and then another one after that, which we're just wrapping up right now. And then actually for this next year, my husband and I are doing something as a couple, which is pretty cool, kind of a different experience. But I think it's important to really understand first and foremost, what is a mastermind, so that when you're going into it, you have the correct expectations. I did promise that I'll share with you the mistake that I made, and I will share that in just a little bit, but then also just the benefits. And here's the part that I learned by going through this experience, and I always share with my friends who are considering this kind of investment for their own business, because I think the benefits almost always, if you're resonating with a specific mastermind or you feel like this is the next step for you, you're feeling that way for a reason. And what you'll get out of it is typically so much more than you ever even expected. So I'll get to that in a minute too. But let's just really start with, what is a mastermind? So a mastermind is what I think of. It's, a group of peers. It's a group of, typically in this case, we're talking about business owners who come together to have this group learning experience. So it's different than hiring, say, a one-on-one coach where you're working with just one person. Usually there's one person who curates the experience, but you're coming together with other people, and depending on the group you join, it can typically be people from all different industries, or maybe you're joining an industry-specific one. Again, there's no right or wrong way. I think it's just dependent upon what the person wants, but I've always found a ton of value being in masterminds that have people from all different industries. I feel like I learn the most from hearing from people outside of my industry, and it's opened up our minds. I say our because my husband is in the most recent mastermind with me, but it's really opened up our minds to other possibilities that we weren't considering before. So I'll get to that in a minute too, just some of the things that we've really gained from it. So a mastermind is like, the biggest difference is it's a group experience. It's not typically something where you're getting one-on-one mentorship or strategy. And this was the biggest mistake, I say, that I made with the very first experience. I left feeling a little bit like I had an expectation of one thing, which was on me. I didn't ask the right questions and didn't get the one-on-one strategy or mentorship that I was really craving, and I didn't know to ask for. So the big mistake that I made, it had nothing at all to do with this experience that I joined. I got a ton out of it, but I didn't realize that what was really important to me was having some one-on-one strategy along with that group environment. So I think it's just really important to know what you need, what you're craving. And so it's one of the reasons why we added one-on-one mentorship within our Powerhouse Women Mastermind, where you get kind of the best of both worlds. So you get the group environment, and then you also get that one-on-one component where you and I would meet for 30 minutes on Zoom every month and go through your goals and really just help you to stay on track with your strategy. So I think it's important to know yourself and know what you need. If you're looking for something like weekly accountability or someone to really coach you through specific breakthroughs that you're looking to have, then a mastermind may not be the best fit. You might want to look more into, one-on-one mentorship or other options out there. But the group environment for me, and I'll talk about this a little bit more when we talk about the benefits, I have gotten so much from that experience. And there's something about being in a room. Okay, now I'm totally getting ahead of myself, but let's just go into the benefits because we're there. And these all really tie in, but there's something about being in a room of people who, for the most part, I put myself in a room where a lot of them are more successful than me. It can feel intimidating, but I do that on purpose because it immediately has my mind open up to be able to think bigger. And it's happened to me every single time I've put myself in a different mastermind group, where if I walk into a room of people who are thinking bigger than me, they're earning more than me, their business is generating more than mine, it opens my mind up to what's possible. And I will never forget, I had an experience in my very first mastermind where we were all going around, we were sharing a little bit about our wins and where we were at in business, and there was a woman who stood up and she shared, what her business had generated monthly. And to me, it was like a radical number to even consider that someone's business generated monthly. At that time, that was a huge, huge stretch for me. And I remember, again, because my mindset shifted, because I'd made this investment in myself, I sat down with her at lunch, and normally I would have been too embarrassed to ask this or, to admit that she was way further along than I was in business. But I said, hey, would you be willing to share with me a little bit about, your business journey? How did you get to the point where, you're bringing in this income every month? And can you break down your revenue streams for me? I'm super curious. And she was more than happy to do that. And I got this huge lesson that day. Not only, was it a growth for me to have the confidence to ask that really direct question, but it opened my mind to what was possible. And now thinking back, I'm actually just having kind of this aha moment as I'm talking about this. Now we do about double a month what that woman's goal or what she did in her business a month. That was such a radical number. Now, just 3 years later, less than that, we actually do double that a month. And I don't say that at all to be boastful. I say that because I know without a doubt that being in that room and hearing what other people were doing and how they were, scaling their businesses to that level completely changed what I knew was possible for myself. So there's really something powerful about being in a community of people who are better than you, who inspire you to think bigger and who force you to level up. I also love, the community environment. You get access to a lot of different ideas. So like I was saying with just being in a room with people who have all different businesses, this last year with being in the mastermind that we're in, there were a lot of people in real estate, totally different industry than mine, and one that my husband and I are both very interested in and have always wanted to learn more about. But we had this idea that it wasn't It probably wasn't something that was attainable for us in the near future until we started having conversations with some of the people in the group. And, spoiler alert, if you follow us on Instagram, we bought our first investment property this year. We invested in a cabin. It was so much fun to, make it our own. But honestly, I can say, had we not been in that mastermind, exposed to different ideas, exposed to just different strategy with how to think about incorporating real estate into our portfolio, it wouldn't have happened because we didn't know that there were so many different options available and there were ways to make it happen. So just that access to all different ideas has been huge for us. And then the biggest one, and I don't think this is any surprise, the relationships that you get. I mean, the connections that I've been able to make through putting myself in a room with, we've kind of done it both ways. The first mastermind I joined, I intentionally joined a group where I didn't know anybody. And I wanted to do that so that I could, make all new relationships. It was even the person leading the mastermind I didn't know very well. So it exposed me to a whole new set of people that I wouldn't have met otherwise. And then this last round, we joined, a friends mastermind where we did know a few people in the group and really, truly wanted to get to know them better. So we deepened some relationships that we already had, and then we made new ones at the same time. So the relationships and connections, as the person leading our mastermind, our friend Chris Harder always says, what you need is usually just one introduction away, if not right in that group. And I found that to be true with being a part of the masterminds that I've been in. So, I could go on and on, but those are the biggest benefits that I've gotten from being a part of a group experience, a mastermind experience where it's curated, it's all designed to help you level up and to put you around other people who will help you get there. So the biggest question that I typically get is, okay, but is it really, what do they cost, first of all? And then is it really worth that? Because depending on which mastermind you're looking at, they can be an investment. But in my experience, and I'll share just some actual tangible things that I've gotten out of both experiences, they've come back, if not tenfold, at least 2 or 3 or 5-fold what my investment was. Now, that's not to say that that will happen for everyone, right? We know that that's not the case. But what I often find is that we aren't willing to look at all of the intangible ways that value comes back from an experience like this. So I remember being with a friend. She was actually doing my makeup for an event that I was putting on, and that event was an investment in itself to be at. And she was there as a volunteer, and she was helping us, and she's just so great to have around. You want her in any room that you're putting together. And she was doing my makeup, and she said, I was in this mastermind, and I haven't made my money back yet, but I got all this value out of it. And she was going on, and I said, well, wait a minute. Think about it this way. You invested, this many dollars to be a part of that experience, and kind of indirectly, because you had invested in that, it's actually why you're here this week. And if you think about it, the investment to be in the room that you're in this week as a volunteer, and you're here at no cost, and you're helping and making this experience beautiful for everyone who's here, you got to be here. And it was exactly the same value that you invested in this mastermind. And she, the look on her face, her eyes got so big, because I think sometimes we don't think about it's the connections and what they lead us to. It's, what other opportunities or doors it opens. And the best example I can give is the first mastermind I joined, even though, like I said, I didn't know that I actually would have loved to find a group that had more one-on-one coaching, or, I was looking for something a little bit deeper. I went in completely committed to getting all the value I could out of that experience. And because I was in that group, and because of just putting myself in a position where I was investing in myself, I happened to be in the right place at the right time. I was in the same city as now a good friend of mine, Lori Harder, and we happened to grab coffee, which we wouldn't have had the opportunity to do otherwise. And at that coffee, we developed the idea for the program we launched together called Event Love. And that program went on to net, over 10 times what I invested in that initial mastermind. Now, it didn't come directly from the mastermind, but I also know that it wouldn't have come had I not put myself in that position. And it could have been easy to miss that connection, tying it back to that initial investment of putting myself in the room, listening to that gut feeling that I knew I was ready to level up and I knew that I was meant for more. So when you look at the ROI, you really have to look a lot broader than just dollars and cents. Yes, it's meant to grow your business as well. But whether it's, that first mastermind leading to a program, an offering that I never would have launched otherwise, and now a friendship that came from it that is priceless, to our most recent mastermind investment, having that turn into this opportunity to invest in a rental property, an investment property, which never would have happened. So I say this to say, I don't care if it's our mastermind that you're looking at or if you're looking at something that's really resonating with you. I do think that when you're ready, the teacher does appear, right? The mastermind, the e-course, whatever it is that's next for you, when you're ready, it does appear. And it should always feel a little bit like a stretch because it's meant to grow you. It's meant to stretch you to think so much bigger than you are thinking right now. And you need to look at the whole picture of what the return on that investment is going to be. Sometimes the biggest return is the relationships that you get, the personal growth that then leads to a huge business growth down the road. But always, the first place that I will make unreasonable investments is in myself and in my own growth because it always pays me back tenfold. So I really hope that this has given you some more insight into just what a mastermind is, how to know if you are at that point where you're ready. I don't know where we'll be at once this episode airs, but as we record this, right now we currently have just 3 spots left in our Powerhouse Women 2021 Mastermind. So this is the group that I work with really, really closely for an entire year. It's really designed for businesses that are close to, if not on track to make $100,000 or more, and you're really looking to scale. You know you cannot continue to grow at the rate you're growing, doing it all by yourself. You really know you're ready to connect with like-minded women who are, going to push you, going to challenge you. That is exactly what we curate this experience to, or who we curate this experience to be for. And like I said, not only do you get 3 in-person meetups, including a 4-day beautiful retreat at this stunning home in North Scottsdale, but you also get those strategy calls. So we actually create a strategy designed specific to your business, along with all the benefits of the mastermind, where you get to share ideas and share contacts. It really is the fastest way for you and your business to grow in 2021. So the best way to get the information, if you don't already have the link, all you have to do is text me the word mastermind, and I'll put the number in the show notes too, so you have it there. But the number is 602-536-7829. And if you just text me the word mastermind, it does actually come directly to me. I'll send you the link. And then if you have questions, we can text back and forth, or you can set up a call and we can, really decide if it's right for you, because we only accept businesses that are a good fit and people who are a really good fit for this group, because I've learned from my own experience that how the group is curated and when it's very intentional, that's where the maximum growth actually occurs. So I cannot wait to meet who the next 3 women to join this epic class of 2021 are going to be. But regardless of whether or not you're at the point to join our mastermind, find the thing that is going to stretch you. If you know that your big idea is meant to be so much more than it currently is, find people who can support you, find people who can mentor you, because you know what we say all the time, and this is going to carry through for 2021 and beyond, that you're just not meant to do business or life alone.